Hello dear friends, you are on the channel Quotes of Great Men. Enjoy watching. No dream symbol can be separated from the individual who dreams it, and there is no definite or straightforward interpretation of any dream. It is the function of the Church to oppose all original experience, because this can only be unorthodox. Thanks to the acuteness of his mind, he saw through the poverty of philosophical and Gnostic knowledge, and contemptuously rejected it. I could well imagine that I might have lived in former centuries and there encountered questions I was not yet able to answer, that I had been born again because I had not fulfilled the task given to me. Gnosticism was stamped out completely, and its remnants are so badly mangled that special study is needed to get any insight at all into its inner meaning. The squaring of the circle is a stage on the way to the unconscious, a point of transition leading to a goal lying as yet unformulated beyond it. It is one of those paths to the center. Yoga in Mayfair or Fifth Avenue, or in any other place which is on the telephone, is a spiritual fake. Medicines cure diseases, but only doctors can cure patients. I have frequently seen people become neurotic when they content themselves with inadequate or wrong answers to the questions of life. I am the triple owner of the world, the finest Turkey, the Lorelei, Germania and Helvetia of exclusively sweet butter in Naples, and I must supply the whole world with macaroni. We do not know whether Hitler is going to found a new Islam. He is already on the way. He is like Muhammad. Hitler's unconscious seems to be female. Hitler is a medicine man type of leader. I don't believe. I know. No language exists that cannot be misused. Every interpretation is hypothetical, for it is a mere attempt to read an unfamiliar text. The heaping together of paintings by old masters in museums is a catastrophe. Likewise, a collection of 100 great brains makes one big fat head. Plato's world of ideas is beautiful. The greatest tragedy of the family is the unlived lives of the parents. How can I be substantial if I do not cast a shadow? I must have a dark side also if I am to be whole. Where wisdom reigns, there is no conflict between thinking and feeling. We cannot change anything unless we accept it. Whatever is rejected from the self appears in the world as an event. As far as we can discern, the sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light of meaning in the darkness of mere being. Thinking is difficult, that's why most people judge. Mistakes are, after all, the foundations of truth, and if a man does not know what a thing is, it is at least an increase in knowledge if he knows what it is not. In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder a secret order. Show me a sane man and I will cure him for you. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, in order to avoid facing their own souls. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. There's no coming to consciousness without pain. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. As a child, I felt myself to be alone, and I am still, because I know things and must hint at things which others apparently know nothing of, and for the most part do not want to know. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Every form of addiction is bad, no matter whether the narcotic be alcohol, morphine, or idealism. The pendulum of the mind oscillates between sense and nonsense, not between right and wrong. Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. Loneliness does not come from having no people about one, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to oneself, or from holding certain views which others find inadmissible. You are what you do, not what you say you'll do. I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Deep down, below the surface of the average man's conscience, he hears a voice whispering, there is something not right, no matter how much his rightness is supported by public opinion or moral code. Anyone who attempts to do both, to adjust to his group and at the same time pursue his individual goal, becomes neurotic. It all depends on how we look at things, and not on how things are in themselves. The least of things with a meaning is worth more in life than the greatest of things without it. We meet ourselves time and again in 1,000 disguises on the path of life. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. The latter procedure, however, is disagreeable and therefore not popular. Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness, and the word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. I must also have a dark side if I am to be whole. Every human life contains a potential. If that potential is not fulfilled, then that life was wasted. Nights through dreams tell the myths forgotten by the day. If there's anything that we wish to change in the child, we should first examine it and see whether it is not something that could better be changed in ourselves. Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration of the contraries. The reason for evil in the world is that people are not able to tell their stories. Nothing has a stronger influence psychologically on their environment and especially on their children than the unlived life of the parent. About a third of my cases are suffering from no clinically definable neurosis, but from the senselessness and emptiness of their lives. This can be defined as the general neurosis of our times. The first half of life is devoted to forming a healthy ego. The second half is going inward and letting go of it. To find out what is truly individual in ourselves, profound reflection is needed, and suddenly we realize how uncommonly difficult the discovery of individuality is. What you resist, persists. The best political, social, and spiritual work we can do is to withdraw the projection of our shadow onto others. The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity. The creative mind plays with the objects it loves. Through pride we are ever deceiving ourselves. But deep down below the surface of the average conscience a still, small voice says to us, something is out of tune. Shame is a soul-eating emotion. The shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits all cases. Where love rules, there is no will to power, and where power predominates, love is lacking. The one is the shadow of the other. Nobody, as long as he moves among the chaotic currents of life, is without trouble. My whole being was seeking for something still unknown which might confer meaning upon the banality of life. The true leader is always led. In each of us there is another whom we do not know. Sometimes you have to do something unforgivable just to be able to go on living. Without this playing with fantasy, no creative work has ever yet come to birth. The debt we owe to the play of the imagination is incalculable. Midlife is the time to let go of an over-dominant ego and to contemplate the deeper significance of human existence. Every mother contains her daughter in herself, and every daughter her mother, and every mother extends backwards into her mother and forwards into her daughter. The bigger the crowd, the more negligible the individual becomes. Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you. When an inner situation is not made conscious, it appears outside as fate. Words are animals, alive with a will of their own. Find out what a person fears most, and that is where you will develop next. If the path before you is clear, you're probably on someone else's. If one does not understand a person, one tends to regard him as a fool. I shall not commit the fashionable stupidity of regarding everything I cannot explain as a fraud. There can be no transforming of darkness into light and of apathy into movement without emotion. Intuition does not denote something contrary to reason, but something outside of the province of reason. A creative person has little power over his own life. He is not free. He is captive and driven by his daimon. Neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering. Often the hands will solve a mystery that the intellect has struggled with in vain. Life is a battleground. It always has been, and always will be, and if it were not so, existence would come to an end. The sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light in the darkness of mere being. The gods have become our diseases. I am no longer alone with myself, and I can only artificially recall the scary and beautiful feeling of solitude. This is the shadow side of the fortune of love. I am looking forward enormously to getting back to the sea again, where the overstimulated psyche can recover in the presence of that infinite peace and spaciousness. Where your fear is, there is your task. Whenever we give up, leave behind, and forget too much, there is always the danger that the things we have neglected will return with added force. Faith, hope, love, and insight are the highest achievements of human effort. They are found given by experience. I don't aspire to be a good man. I aspire to be a whole man. Children are educated by what the grown-up is and not by his talk. We cannot change anything unless we accept it. Condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses. The majority of my patients consisted not of believers but of those who had lost their faith. The fool is the precursor to the Savior. We are born at a given moment, in a given place, and like vintage years of wine, we have the qualities of the year and of the season in which we are born. People don't have ideas. Ideas have people. It all depends on how we look at things, and not how they are in themselves. Life really does begin at 40. Up until then, you are just doing research. When you're up against a wall, put down roots like a tree, until clarity comes from deeper sources to see over that wall and grow. The wrong we have done, thought, or intended will wreak its vengeance on our souls. If you watch to the end, I am very grateful to you. Watch also these videos.